Hello everyone, this is MC Deck Discussions and I'm OhBSmall, and today we have another deck discussion, today with Justice Domino called Ranger Danger, and this is a deck that was built specifically for the tournament in round 2 when we were facing M.O.D.O.K, so I'll be giving a quick reminder of that. Also, I will have the link for this deck in the description of the video. This won't be one that's published publicly. That'll be the case for pretty much this whole tournament, I'm guessing. It's just so that I can keep up with everything. All right, so you can remind yourself about all of these things if you wish to read them. We had a limited draft and a limited environment draft tournament, and these are the people involved in it, all content creators. Be sure to visit their sites. And then my specific environment that I drafted is all described right here. And then these are some rules about how the point scoring works when you face each villain. And again, this is up against M.O.D.O.K, specifically Expert M.O.D.O.K. So let's go ahead and check out Expert M.O.D.O.K right now and see what it is this deck is designed to do. It'll be a quick reminder since I showed this last time with the leadership domino deck. Oh, also as a reminder, we're allowed to use the same hero again in the tournament, but if we do, we must change aspects. All right, so as a reminder, so M.O.D.O.K has 3 schemes, so very high scheme, a low attack, but he does tend to get attachments throughout the game, and the only way to get rid of those is to, well, kind of defeat him. So he has Retaliate 2 and Steady. But here's what I mean by kind of defeat him. When M.O.D.O.K would be defeated, you have these holding cells out that I'll show in just a little bit. But if a holding cell is in play, you remove 2 lock counters from it. Then you reset M.O.D.O.K's hit points back to 14. Otherwise, you win the game if all of the holding cells have been, I don't know, completed, so that you get the allies that are on the other side that are playing for you. Right, so let me go ahead and show those allies, or the holding cells. Right, so there are 4 holding cells, and each one has an ally on the other side. So let's just click on the first one. Right, so they come with 2 lock counters. So the 2 major things that you're trying to overcome are the retaliate damage from M.O.D.O.K himself, plus he has Steady. And then you want to get rid of these 2 lock counters. So of course you can get rid of the 2 lock counters. This is solo, so all you have to do is get rid of 2 for me personally, and everybody in the tournament. So you can defeat M.O.D.O.K to do that, but also they all have this hero action. In this case, it would be to spend 2 energy resources or 3 resources of any type. Then you can remove 1 lock counter from here. And then if you do that, you flip this over, and then you get an Inhuman. So in this case, you get the Flying Inhuman. Then in the next one, you can spend 2 mental resources to get rid of one of these lock counters, and of course spend 2 again and get rid of them. And then then you get the Psionic Inhuman, and this is a great one to unlock. If you get lucky, it's a random order, but if you get lucky to get this one early, all you have to do is thwart with this Psionic Inhuman, and they will remove a lock counter from a holding cell for you. For me, it was pretty much a late game, most every game that I got this particular one, but I did benefit from it most games still. And then the next holding cell, you would have to spend a wild, and it's only 1 wild, so that's one of the reasons for choosing. One of the reasons for choosing Domino for my hero is that she has a whole bunch of wild resources, which means that she can, spend these wild resources very easily to defeat this, to complete this particular holding cell. But also, wild resources means it's easy to meet the demands of the other holding cells as well. So Domino was pretty ideal for this, for M.O.D.O.K for a number of reasons, this being one of them, or for a couple of reasons. And then you could get Sarah Garza, who's definitely beneficial because she has ranged attacks, so she can go around the retaliate damage. And then the last one being this holding cell with the physicals, right? So let's go ahead. I think that was all 4 of them, but if it isn't, that's fine. Let's head back now to the deck. Now, one of the reasons why I wanted to choose Domino again for my second play is that it turned out my very first play in Leadership, I didn't really, it's meant to be a recursion deck with Make the Call, and I pulled all 3 copies of Make the Call, 2 in the first turn, 1 in my second turn, and I never used it. And I just played right on through and beat M.O.D.O.K. So I knew that I didn't need that kind of card draw, and that I could just run a straightforward deck. And Justice seemed like a nice choice because it could add some protection against the main scheme because of Domino's, 3 scheming. So it would keep me out of danger there. So Justice just seemed like very natural. I knew I didn't need a lot of threat removal. The allies would provide plenty of that in these decks that I'm using, but that Counterintelligence could provide that extra insurance. So, and that's exactly what you saw in the actual play that I recorded with this deck. And that's one of the ways this is meant to be played. It's not how it's designed to be played, but it's meant to be that it could always work out that way. And it did, right? I ended up getting a Counterintelligence out. Didn't end up using it, but it did provide insurance for that. I knew I wasn't going to lose, and I had enough to win at the end. So this deck provided that, and Agent Coulson then, with his ability here, to get a preparation card and put it in your hand, I knew I could utilize that, get Counterintelligence into my hand. And then, once Domino's pistols come out into play, then they can just, start dealing a bunch of damage to M.O.D.O.K. without worrying about the retaliate damage. And M.O.D.O.K. doesn't have a big attack. He can get some bigger attacks with his attachments, but you go ahead and defeat him and those attachments go away. He might reset his hit points, but it's 14 hit points, not too bad to then take out again, especially once you have a couple of pistols in play. And if you have Sharpshooter out as well, which I didn't get out in the actual recording, but I did get that out in another play, and that sped things up very quickly. And then Captain Britain is just a natural for being able to take out minions and side schemes that show up, because then he can do 3 attack or 3 thwart and has 3 health. And he only takes 1 consequential when he attacks side schemes and minions. So that works out great. Plus, if you need him for a final push, he deals some nice damage there. Deadpool is really nice too, because first of all, he has another one of these wild resources, but he also has 2 attack and 2 thwart, and you can always have him take 2 consequential damage or defend with him, and you don't have to worry about putting an acceleration token to the main scheme. Though I did consider, it didn't happen, I did consider that it was possible that the Sidearm could end up on him and he wouldn't take consequential, and I could have him just continuously deal damage and not really worry too much about the acceleration. Shouldn't be too many acceleration tokens that show up. So that was an option in my mind. And then Deathlock is in here specifically because, hey, if you're on hero side, you play your entire hand and you get Deathlock out, but immediately he gets Sidearm attached to him. And then he can deal 3 damage 3 times. Pretty solid there, right? He can deal 9 damage, and in an emergency, do some thwarting for you. Okay. And then I also thought of Sidearm not going on Diamond back. It doesn't make sense for her, but the other one, Outlaw, that it could possibly go on Outlaw as well. And then we have Feral in here, who thwarts, and then you discard the top card of your deck. Each resource icon discarded this way, deal 1 damage to the villain. Didn't ever get Feral out, but, this is one of those things where you expected to randomly get different allies out. And she just happened not to be one of the allies that came out in my 3 games, but she was always there and would have that ability to deal damage that could not be retaliated because it's not an attack damage when she thwarts. Nick Fury, out there for the card draw, but he can also produce that big chunk of damage with his ability too. Professor X for some immediate thwart, but if I happen to play him twice, I'd have the ability to confuse the villain. And one of the things to consider is I was going down to alter ego side pretty regularly in one of my other plays. And so Professor X could possibly come back into hand, because of this this action ability here on the alter ego side. Choose a card in your hand, swap that card with the top card of your discard pile. So if Professor X were on the top of my discard pile, I could bring him back in, and I could legitimately then get him a second time out there and confuse the villain, even if he had steady. What I ended up doing in one of my plays was I did that actually with Counterintelligence. So I would go to alter ego side with Counterintelligence out, utilize its ability when as soon as after M.O.D.O.K schemes, because he's going to do at least 3 scheme when he schemes, and then prevent 3 of that, put it in the discard pile. Then it is automatically the top card in my discard pile when my turn starts in alter ego. So then I can use her Domino's swapping ability, get that back in my hand. And I did that twice in that one game, just to get it back and get it into play again. So it was really cool in that game, having that bigger hand size, constantly going down to alter ego. So it didn't turn out in the game that I played, but the game isn't meant to count. The deck isn't meant to count on that. But if I get a chance to do that, it can certainly make the deck so we get that 6 hand size regularly, and be able to constantly interchange cards. The best card, the top card that you want from the discard pile back into your hand, and then you flip over to your hero side, and sometimes you'll take that card that you put into your hand and you'll put it back into your deck. So for instance, I did that as well in that same game that I'm mentioning with her jackpot card. So the jackpot card was in the top of the deck, on top of the discard pile. I put it back into my hand when I was on alter ego side. Then when I flipped to hero side, I put that card back into the top of the deck so that it would be utilized by Domino's pistol to do 3 damage, and then it would then get shuffled back into my deck. And so it was really cool to do that, to utilize her alter ego ability for that too. And it did that as well here and there with Digging Deep. So another card that's pretty cool for that. And then what else do we have? And then there's White Fox, who again, and this is another card that where I did that with, where I put it into my hand, or maybe it came into my hand, I put it on top of the deck. Then it would be discarded when I used Domino's pistol, and then White Fox's ability would allow her to come directly into play. So pretty neat, all these little interactions you can have with Domino. Really enjoying her a lot. I'm glad that I'm getting to play her again. It's been a really long time. Haven't ever played her on my channel until this week, so I'm glad I'm back getting a chance to do that again. It's been fun. And then in this deck too, if we look at the events, I added Directed Force. And again, I use this, I think in each of my plays, but certainly I used it in the recorded play to enhance that damage that's done when I attacked with Domino's pistols. So with those ranged attacks doing an extra 2 damage for a cost of 0. Face the Past. That was one where I would choose to use it or not, depending upon the situation. It's not the greatest, Nemesis minion to bring out, because the Nemesis minion also brings out another card, so you have to flip down to alter ego. But if I'm prepared to go to alter ego, this can be a nice setup card. And then some first aid that I don't think I used it in the recorded game, but I did use it in other games to do a little bit of healing of an ally or of Domino. And then, let's see. And then when we get to the player side schemes, Lay the Trap, which I put into just in my last 2 plays, and I didn't actually end up using it. I came close to using it, didn't actually use it, but I could see this being a nice one for M.O.D.O.K, because, do a quick 5 damage to him, possibly defeat him, to go, to be able to get rid of those holding cell cards faster, or just to defeat him for the final round. Supercharged Training is meant to help get the Domino's pistols out sooner, at least one of them out sooner, and for probably obvious reasons. And then for the resource cards, Digging Deep we already mentioned, and then we have the usual double resource cards. And then the supports, I actually did have Helicarrier in the supports originally, but I wasn't ever playing it, and I never felt the need to. So I decided, well, let's just make it so the card game just flows and not needing that extra setup. and we won't include it. So it was really nice not to worry about helicarrier. I don't know how rare it is for me not to add some extra supports. Possibly this is the first deck ever for me, but I just found that it was completely unnecessary. And then I already mentioned the upgrades here. Yes. All right. Yeah. And so really nice. So Sidearm was in here specifically, though, so that I could get some extra damage from my allies if I wanted to, including not just my allies, but Sidearm could possibly go into the allies that you get from, from the holding cells. All right. So that's it for today's deck discussion. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already. And I appreciate having conversations in the comment section. Have a great one, everybody.